Oh, hold on, what the heck? 1 second. Okay, so let's see if it's up on let's see if we're up on Facebook. Actually, we're having a few.
Yeah, looks like it.
Good. Okay, so we might have a few glitches here, but we'll push through this. Okay. So good evening, everyone. You are watching Social Chatter. My name is Christian Karasevich. I'm the founder of Social Chatter, of Social Chefs, and the show is called Social Chatter. It's your weekly social media marketing talk show. Tonight, it's just going to be myself. Nick had something come up. So basically, it's going to be Nick, myself, and we've got a great guest. We've got Owen Hemsath. Hopefully, I've said your name right, Owen. I don't think the last time we met we ever talked about last names. But
call me Owen Video.
Okay.
That is how I'm known online, and that is what I do. So Owen Video, and my last name is a little bit confusing. No one ever gets it right the first time, but that's all part of the appeal, right?
Absolutely. So, hey guys, I'm just going to say a quick hello, and now we're going to bring up Owen, and we've got a lot of good things to talk about tonight too. I think.
Yeah, some good topics on the list today.
Definitely, and let me just get this. Let me get you pulled up real quick here.
I gotta say, one thing that no one ever talks about with live streaming, no one ever talks about how hot it gets. Like you're stuck in a room. Typically, your fans aren't on because you don't want the buzz from the fans, and you don't want the ceiling fans like spinning the light around. You've got these lights that are on you. You've got your computer screens, and you're working. I want to see a show talk about how to dab your sweat while live streaming. That's a show that I think really needs to be brought up on the web. Oh, look at that! Like I am big and bold and in your face. Let's back this bad boy. Let's back this bad boy up a bit. Hey, how you guys doing?
Yeah, that is. You're absolutely right about live streaming. I mean, it's one of those things that, right now, for instance, my computer, it's on high. I mean, we just got started and we're at about 60-something% CPU usage.
Oh yeah. I've been high for hours, so.
Got that going on. I've got, you probably see I've got a lot of light going on. I mean, I've got two big lights on my desktop here. I've got my audio set up here. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that goes into making a live video production.
And you're moving the whole time. The whole time you're doing this, you're doing that, you're responding to people. It's a lot of work. And, here we are at the end of the day, presenting, doing a show, and we're hoping that people get a lot of content, a lot of value out of what you're doing. So I think it's great that you're here. I'm glad to be invited to the show, and I'm excited to dig into our topics today.
Definitely. And, the other thing I want to mention about you mentioned something really important here just a second ago. The only way that live video succeeds is it's not just, myself being on here and talking to people. It's not just Owen being on and talking to people. You use that if you're doing like YouTube videos or like one-on-one like Facebook Lives. But where it really succeeds is by having a really engaged community, by having people that are, asking questions during the broadcast. Feeling like they're part of the broadcast, because that's what I want you to feel, like you're part of this broadcast. I'm not just doing this because, hey, I want to put a video out. I'm doing this to help you as a business owner. So
and it's it's like the people's show. I know we're live on Facebook every Wednesday, filming our show live, and then we edit out the highlights and we turn that into the podcast. What we want to do is we want people to be asking comments and leaving questions so that we can say their name, and we even have a share sponsor every week. So if you share the show, then out of the 12, 15, 20 people that share it, we pick one and we give them a shout out. We say their name at the end of the show. We really want our show to feel like it's the people's show, and they drive the content, because otherwise it's just us talking, right? We want our people to really be driving the content, telling us what to talk about, and being a part, because not everybody wants to live stream. Not everybody wants to be in front. Not everybody can be in front of the camera. So by contributing and commenting and liking and sharing, you actually are a part of the show. And we've never lived in a society where that was possible. You know what I mean? So it's cool that we get to be, we're privileged enough in this great country to be able to do those things.
Definitely. So let's get started with tonight's topics. I mean, we only have, I think, 5 topics, but I know these aren't little, these aren't little small topics, I think. Or maybe the Instagram one is, but everything else, I think, is really a topic that we could really go deep on and talk a lot about. So
sure.
So let's start with some topics. So I think the first one I want to talk about is, let's talk about Instagram. Okay.
Yeah.
We'll talk about Instagram because that's kind of, one of the smaller topics. And then we've got a couple of Facebook topics. And I think we also have a LinkedIn topic. So first topic is Instagram has topped 700 million users online. This is pretty big news, I think. Part of it is because, like Instagram, I mean, Facebook really doesn't do much with them if you really think about it. They're taking features that have been on other platforms and, they're pulling into Instagram some of these features, but then like what's its distinguishing feature,
Yeah, Instagram is the new Snapchat in my opinion. It's the anti-Facebook, and Snapchat has its own place in the marketplace, but I'm finding that some of the people that I'm having a hard time reaching out to on Facebook Messenger or on Facebook in general, in terms of getting real engagement, I'm finding them on Instagram. They're using Instagram Messages, which is a feature that I haven't traditionally used. I'm using it a lot more now. I'm finding them in the comments section on various posts, and I'm finding like, wow, all these thought leaders and people that I really want to be connecting with from a collaboration standpoint. I couldn't get them on Messenger, but I hit them on Instagram, and it's like, boom, they're there, they're active, and they're sort of like posting on Facebook as the rest of us are, but avoiding sort of the mob of Facebook. So Instagram, a Facebook-owned company, is the anti-Facebook right now, and I'm having a good time sort of exploring that and seeing what else we can do with that.
Definitely. I mean, I personally, I've started to get more into Instagram. I think, the hardest part about all of this is really, figuring out how to tell a story on these sites. They all might have the same set of tools, but then it's, what I mean by that is, you have Instagram, you have stories, you've got disappearing messages. They haven't even tapped into the whole like e-commerce side or really the contacting side or being able to click on the links and whatnot.
Right.
So in a way, it's almost like you're getting in at the ground floor. And I don't want to sound like, oh, I'm a network marketer, because, that's what that sounds like. But I think, though, what's important, about that is that like you are literally getting in on the ground floor. So if you haven't joined Instagram yet, here's the thing. It doesn't matter when you join any of these networks. It's, it's when it really like, sticks with you to say, hey, you know what? I'm a business. I need to get on Instagram. I get on Instagram and like, you know what? I don't care if somebody else is like 10 steps ahead of me.
Yeah. Here's the deal. I'm growing my Instagram, so that's an objective for me, right? Mm-hmm. We're actually growing it. We want to be, we want to be Instagram influencers in a sense where we're attracting brands and we're attracting sponsorships and that sort of thing. So that's what Owen Video is doing on Instagram. But I'm noticing that a lot of the really key people that are doing amazing things in social media, in video, and in their respective industries, someone like Chocolate Johnny, right, who is a chocolatier out in the Gold Coast, I think is where he is, New Zealand or Australia. He's like a social media influencer, but he's a chocolatier. Right. So if you're a dentist, if you're a lawyer, if you're a doctor, you can be a social media influencer. It's interesting how all that's working. Instagram can kind of be your push to talk, right? That Facebook is sort of the marketplace. Facebook is sort of the town square, but Instagram is the town hall. That's sort of where. Well, maybe it's a bad example. It's Facebook is sort of like the main marketplace, the public square, but Instagram is sort of like the back room. It's the pub, if you will, right? Where you meet with there's a couple people, and that's where you're having like these really in-depth conversations. What I've noticed about Facebook, okay, this is huge, right? So if you guys are taking notes right now, like, I'm sure you guys are all taking notes, right, on your drive home. But it's like, what I'm noticing is that Facebook, everyone has their game face on, right? I'm not getting a ton of like, here's me like, pulling the curtain back on Facebook. Not at all. On Instagram, that's where I'm finding like people are being a little bit more real and they're saying things that they wouldn't normally say on Facebook. So there's, again, it goes back to that. It's the anti-Facebook. It's the place where we want to go where everybody is. But at the same time, we know that not everything we're doing is public. Not everything we're doing is out there for public consumption, right? It's a little bit harder to kind of find out what I'm posting and what I'm liking and what I'm seeing, and so it takes more work on the end user. I think that's a good thing. It's just, in my view, I don't really care about Facebook taking over the world, right? Like they're going to, and that is what it is. I would love to see all these different companies owned by different people, and there might be a social media deregulation, in the next 25 years, like there was with television and radio and phone services and all this. There might be that. But right now they're all owned by the same company, and that's okay because we're all able to accomplish what it is we're trying to do using the sites the way that they were meant to be used. And I think that's a pretty cool thing.
And by the way, I want to go back to the one point that you made real quick on this. So, Instagram, they've crossed 700 million users. They've got, a lot of new features that they've added. We talked about, a second ago about how, they haven't tapped into really the shopping potential. Like there's a couple of, big names that are using some of these features, but the average user doesn't have access to a lot of these things. Right. So there's a lot of untapped potential there. But the part that I want to go back to is, you talked about dentists. I think we talked about lawyers, or if we didn't, we can throw lawyers into the mix. Like real estate. There's so many different industries that are available that it doesn't matter which you don't have to be on every network. You need to find the network where your customers are at. And, and get on it. And figure out your path. I heard this great quote earlier. I think it was earlier this week, and it was talking about how the wind can take you any direction, but it really is up to you to chart the course. Yeah. And if you're a dentist, for example, and that's the other thing. Like that's the reason why we do social chatter here is we like to bring on if you notice some of the people we bring on people that are in real estate, that are in legal and so forth. Like we bring these people on because our goal is we don't want to just give you all this fluff marketing that people read about and they're inundated with it. We want to actually give you guys real examples, real stories, real businesses that are actually doing things, through social that, they're actually
not just trying to be a speaker at the next social media conference.
Right,
you know what I mean? Right. These are people that you've got to build your business. One of the best decisions that I made, I made it this year, was that I'm not going to be everywhere, right? I was building on Snapchat. I was getting somewhere like 300 views a day. Joel Comm, who's a guy that I just know and just have a ton of respect for. I think I love him. I'm not sure. I haven't confessed that to him yet, but I'm close. I'm so close because he just stands for so many of the things that I stand for. He wrote an article for Inc.com and named me as a Snapchatter who's doing it right. The thing is about that is I was getting views there, but I was noticing that I was getting views from people that I was also getting views from on Facebook and on YouTube, and they were just kind of following me to Snapchat. I was also getting views from people that just simply didn't matter to me, right? It's 12-year-olds and 14-year-olds, and I noticed that all the comments that I was getting were from kids, and it's not. I have 4 kids myself. I love kids. I think it's great that kids are using social and learning how to use it responsibly. My problem is that these are not people that can buy from me, and at the end of the day, I have to look at my wife and tell her how much money we brought into the company today, and I can't say, I spent an hour and a half responding to a 12-year-old because they asked me to. Not at all. So one of the big decisions that I made is I'm not going to be everywhere. And the people that want to consume my content are going to have to come to where I am. And we made the decision that we would have a presence on Facebook, on Instagram, and on YouTube. And those were going to be the places that we're present. And I have a blog at thevideospot.net, and that blog hosts, my products and services, but it also hosts my, our podcast. So I didn't mention iTunes, but it hosts our podcast. All of our content goes there. Okay. Now, every now and then I have something to say. I have something to say that's maybe not fitting to my content. I use Medium for that, and I just kind of have an outlet for that. But that's just sort of on the side. The reality is that as a company, we're going to be on these 3 platforms. That's where we're going to be. And the next time some big social media thing comes up, you got to be on Ello. Oh, you got to be here. Oh, you got to be that. We're going to just, throw up the proverbial middle finger and say, no, we're not going to do that. We're going to focus on where we are. And if a new platform comes out, and if in a year it's proven to be a good platform, then perhaps we will go there. But for the most part, we're going to plant our flag in the ground. Right? And that's where we're going to be. And we want our audience to come to you. And that's my advice for the business owners that we work with in our training group is, guys, don't try to be everywhere. If you're a great dentist, if you're a great attorney and you're good at blogging, then go where bloggers are, right? Go where people that are going to like you are going to be. If you're an attorney, or a CFP, and you're great on camera and you love to talk, go where the video is, you know? Don't try to make yourself a blogger because this CFP down the road is great at blogging, right? Let him do that. You're great on video, go where the video people are. And, you know, I think that you'll find that you're less stressed, you're getting better results, and the clients, the leads that are coming to you are more like your type of client.
Mm-hmm. And I think that is a great point that you make there. I mean, because a lot of people, like, they, you know, when you know, I've been doing this since like 2006. You know, a lot of people got into blogging, and you know, what was the biggest thing? Like, people were like, well, hey, I don't have time to do this, and they're like, oh, I'm going to sit down and do this. And then they write something, and let's say it takes them like a month to write like 1,000-word article, for instance. You know, it takes them a long time to do this stuff, and they're struggling with it. If they continue trying on that same path, here's all they're doing. They're basically just going back and forth, and what they're doing is they're digging themselves into a hole. Mm-hmm. You know, they're digging themselves into a hole to where then they want to get out of it. They've already shot their confidence, you know. They've killed all their confidence. You know, they don't believe themselves.
Wasted all their time. They've hit burnout. Yeah, right. Absolutely. And for what? Like, you don't even like blogging. You know what I mean? Me, I'm not a blogger. Like, I love the written word, and I do love to write. And every now and then I want to emote something. You know, right now there's a lot of smack talking on the word influencer, you know, and I'm really proud of the fact that I'm a YouTube influencer. I'm proud of the fact that my years of hard work have paid off. And when I say, hey guys, go buy this tool, they buy it. You know, we did a live stream with TubeBuddy, which is a YouTube marketing tool. It's a fantastic YouTube marketing tool. And I did a live stream where I promoted the product, and we had 8 people buy during the course of the live stream. That, to me, is something that I can say people trust me and they like me and they're going to go. But now you got all these people who are not influencers talking smack on the word influencer. And they're, we're throwing out the word influencer too much. It's like, well, hey, pal, why don't you do the work and become one yourself? Now, I'm sort of like telling you unrelated stuff. My point is that particular blog doesn't have a place in my network. So I'll go to Medium and emote it there. And I'll spend time on the weekends doing it. I'll spend time, you know, sort of formulating it in my own mind. It's a passion project. It's not part of my business model. The business model, right, is we pump out video content. We pump it out, you know? So you've got to find, as a business, you've got to find what you can pump out and pump those things out. If you're good at making great images, then you need to be on Instagram, and you need to figure out how you can turn your images into, you know, into a dialogue, into a conversation with your audience. A great way to do that, I think, is to have themes, you know, where, you know, let's pick a new example. If you're a fitness company, you know, so let's say that for the first quarter of the year, you're going to be focusing on core work, right? Well, January is going to be abs. February is going to be the back, and let's say March is up for grabs. You know, you're gonna post things that you're gonna make images because you're good at it around the theme for that month, and you're gonna get people focused on that theme. You know, and that's gonna help you to drive your content. What my wife and I are doing, we run a show we're about to launch called Thriving Sexy Marriage, where we're helping to strengthen and grow marriages across the country. We've got our seasons lined up, and we have our themes. And on week 1, I don't remember off the top of my head, but it's like week 1, we focus on how to thrive. Week 2, we focus on something sexy. Week 3, we focus on repair. And then week 4 is a week off, so we don't do anything that week. And now when we sit down to do content, it's like, okay, well, we're in the 3rd week of the month, so we need to be focusing on repair. How to repair a bad relationship. And the season that we're focusing on is going to be, let's just say, it's back to school, right? So we're focusing more on education. So we're going to do an educational piece on repairing your marriage. And coming up with content, that we did that on the plane ride home. Coming up from Texas, coming 2.5 hours, not even, it's like an hour and a half we spent time. And now we have a process for coming up with content, so we're never scrambling, and we always know what's coming next. This is where
go ahead. I was just saying, and you stick to the process.
You stick to that process. Yeah, the biggest thing as creatives, right, is that we actually sit down to do, and we go, oh, I have this new idea. Well, the new idea has to go on the whiteboard, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you've got to like leave it for your next 2.5 hour meeting. But for right now, you're going to focus on that process. Probably one of the hardest things for us to do.
Right. Absolutely. And I completely agree with the process. I mean, I'm the same way. Like I run social chatter, on Thursday nights, but then on Wednesdays, social snacks is my thing, where I put out 5-minute or less YouTube videos. Which, as you can see, that can translate into, that can easily go to Instagram, that can easily go to YouTube, that can go to Facebook. I mean, it's got a lot of places it can go. But my process is, at the beginning of the month, I outline what I'm going to put out.
Yes,
because then that way, every week, okay, what's due this week? What's due that week? What's due that week? And then I can do them either all at once and push all that content out on the date that it needs to go out. So, going back to what you said, I mean, you take a fitness company, I think we were talking about, like, you need to start with, you need a plan, basically. You need to say, hey, what is my outline going to be for the month? Because if you just start, I'm glad people want to just start, and there's nothing wrong with just starting, but you're going to find as you start moving along, it works out a whole lot better when you have it planned out ahead of time.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's worth the hour. The hour and a half, the 2 hours, book 2 hours of your time. And we try to do it at quarterly, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because the month ends always faster than you think it was going to.
Yeah.
Except for April, because April for me, it's at the end of the month is my birthday. So it just seems like it's been dragging on, what I mean? But most of the time it's just like, oh my gosh, is it May already? Is it Q3 already? Mm-hmm. You've got to be kind of prepared for that. And I know for me, maybe it's different for you, but for me, we've found out, or we're learning every day, and we found out that our weak spot was, not planning enough in advance.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So, we do it quarterly, but it's the same thing. We focus on what the plan is, and at the end of the day, just yesterday, man, I was kind of like going through some stuff, and I had a lot of web design work to do, and there's just nothing I hate more than web design work. I mean, it's so important, and I'm good at it, but I don't like doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going through, what I could do is I could do this, or I can move to this template, or maybe I should try Thinkific, now, and finally move my stuff over to Thinkific, which is something that I really, really want to do. But it's like, no. Right now, I need to transfer the content from this page to that page. And if we're going to move over to Thinkific, then we're going to do that at the end of the month or during the weekend or when it's not part of our working business hours, because at the end of the day, I've got to look at my wife and tell her how much money I brought into the business.
And I love that point. I mean, here's the thing. I mean, it's like you can do, we're going to move on to the next topic here in a second, but, you can join every social network. You can spend your time just having conversations with people online, but is that actually going to drive real business? It's going to drive dollars, and you made a great point there. I mean, which is you have to remember that. I mean, what's your bottom line? For people, like if you have a whiteboard, for instance, I've got a whiteboard, and what do I put on that whiteboard? I put my ideas up there, but I also put, how much money do I need to generate for the month? Like, what's my goal? And I aim to go hit that every single month.
Yeah, and in what you post, it's not about what you post, about what you don't post. I've got probably I don't want to mention any names or anything like that, but you get these guys on social media that are sort of like, hey, here's a social media tip, and here's a social media tip, and hey, if you're a religious person, I think you're stupid and dumb. And then, hey, here's a social media tip, and hey, do business with me. It's like, hey, guys, like, it's not just about what you post. It's about what you don't post. And you've got to consider those things when you're in the public space, right? Like, it's about what you don't post as well. You can't be offending people and say to yourself, well, it's my private Facebook, I could do whatever. It's my private Instagram. I could do whatever you want. If that Instagram is designed to grow your business, then make good business decisions. I don't want to go to an Instagram page for someone who's a bicycle salesman and necessarily see pictures that I'm trying to think of a good example, but are unrelated to what you're doing. Like, your Instagram page should be about what you're Instagramming about. And if you want to, like, I don't post pictures of my family anymore on Instagram. I used to, but that's what my stories are for. That's why I love stories. My personal stuff that's going to disappear is going to go on stories. But when you go to my Instagram page, it's about the business, and that's what you're going to get there.
Absolutely. So, let's keep moving with this, and then we can revisit questions and whatnot.
Next topic is great. Yeah, I can't wait to go to the next topic.
Okay, so topic 2. What topic do you have for topic 2, by the way?
Let's see. I had Facebook is testing out video cover images.
Yes, let's talk about that one.
Yeah, it's about freaking time, man.
That is going to be really cool, by the way.
Yeah, I'm excited about it. We're a big web design company. I started my YouTube channel in web design, and so we just launched a new website, I think, like in December. We're using video. We're not using a video cover image, but we are using like these video banners that on desktop just make it a really dynamic looking site. And I really like the video profile pictures. I don't use them. I don't think it's right for me, but right. I do like seeing other people's. Brian G. Johnson has a great looking Facebook video profile image. But I love the idea of cover images. I love the idea of bringing someone to my Facebook profile, and it's like an image, and then all of a sudden it's like, and then it changes into something else, and just kind of, gives you an experience. This is what people. Here's what you got to remember: we're on Facebook, right? People are on Facebook. If you're a business owner, listen up, right? Put your ear in. Like, we're on Facebook to have fun. We want to have fun. People that are working sneak onto Facebook to have fun. So you've got to make that experience more fun. One of my dentist, or one of the dentists locally here, is just doing a lot of really fun stuff with their dental ads. They're making them fun, right? And it's not just about like, hey, get a dental deal. Right. It's about like, hey, nasty smilers, and it's got a picture of a guy like this, and it's just it's funny. So I think that these cover images are just going to add to that richness of experience. Where I'm going to say, hey guys, I uploaded a new video cover image. Go see what Owen uploaded today. I think that's gonna do more to add to the experience of making Facebook a fun place to be.
And so by the way, I posted a link to this on the Facebook page. That'll take you off to a preview of one of the examples. But there's for instance, you can go to like Narcos Netflix series Facebook page. They have a video up. But I want to quickly talk about some of this real quick. So
Narcos, you said?
Yes.
That's great.
So let's quickly talk about just let's rattle off a couple of ideas. Like how do you see people using a video cover photo on their Facebook page?
Oh, well, I'm looking at the Narcos page right now, and this is just exactly what I'm talking about. It's maybe not as fun as I would make it, but right. Here's an idea. Like it's a picture of you pulling a rope across the screen, and then you see the rope for 2 seconds, and then it's you again, like kind of like following up on the rope. You're creating anticipation, right? That's another thing, is getting people to just watch it and figure out what it is that you're doing. It says so much about who you are as a person. Another thing you could be doing, we're trying to gamify video right now. Like, that's a big thing for us, is how can we make video a part of your a game for you. Another, you could be doing trivia. Like, we just posted a trivia video on our Instagram page, and it did phenomenally well in the first 24 hours. You could do a profile image where every Monday you're doing a new trivia question, and the question appears at the top of the image, and then within 10, 15 seconds, however long the video is, then the answer pops up, and it's kind of like, hey, you could pin a comment to your page and say, hey, answer this week's trivia question in the comments below, and the winner gets a shout out on our podcast or something like that. Lots and lots of fun things that you could be doing.
That is actually really awesome. So I want to throw out a couple of ideas as well for what people could do with these. I don't know what the link to these is yet, but for example, I think one, a business should create a sizzle reel. Like take little snippets of what you do, and if somebody sees all of this, like, and they see the exciting things going on in your business, they want to be a part of that. It might be a happy customer, it might be new products. You could a couple other ideas. Get into doing seasonal videos. Yeah,
good.
What about showing off your staff? So like, you can, that's easy to do. You basically have a staff member, you have their name come up, you have their position come up. And then I think the other thing is, promote your latest product. So if you got some hot sellers, like, think of it like this, you go watch TV and you see like, hey, a company's having a sale or something like that, right? Like,
Yeah.
put some of that stuff into a video. It doesn't really have to be that long, and it's fun and easy to do.
Yeah, and you're really hitting on it. Like, you're showing people, you're showing people your personality. You're showing them the creativity of your brain. And that is, it goes such a long way to building rapport with your audience when you can show them. I think a lot of companies fail at this, where you're kind of like, hey, we're a boring company, and therefore our images are boring and our profiles are boring. And it's really not boring. It's like legally sterile, right? No one will ever sue us. You know what I mean? And that sort of thing. And maybe these are like going to be like bigger companies because they want to just be, banks or whatever. But, imagine Wells Fargo on their Facebook page doing like, the Wells Fargo chariots or whatever they are, just kind of like slow motion, like rolling across the screen. I mean, that does so much to like reinforce the brand. Or, like you said, an employee of the week, that's sort of rolling out there. And they're very simple to do. And you only need 15 seconds. I'm sure it's like a 10, 15-second loop. So these are the areas where I want to challenge those of you guys that are listening to this, either live or on the replay, to say, like, what can you do that's more creative than the last thing that you did? How do you show a part of your company that you're scared to show or you think nobody wants to see, right? And I'm not talking about skin, ladies, and some of you guys out there, too. Those cleavage shots are weird, bro. But, like for me, I don't want to show my desk, right? I've always been like kind of like self-conscious about how messy my desk is. But our new season on YouTube is really like showing the desk and behind the scenes. It's like, this is what the desk of a video marketer looks like, and I'm getting phenomenal feedback from it. So show people what it is that you can do, and have fun with it.
And I can't wait for these things to roll out. You also have me thinking now, because like I'm also thinking this is going to be awesome, like to be able to have like these little mini videos that essentially go up there. I mean, they're basically just advertising spots. But the other part is it actually gets me thinking, hey, is Facebook going to put advertising into your cover photo? That could be pretty interesting, actually, if they ran.
Well, yeah, and do those viewers go into a retargeting list? That could be really cool. I mean, you could target people who have visited your page, which is not, to my knowledge, not something you can target people that have liked your page, but what about people that actually watched your banner? I mean, I like that idea, because then I could say, what if you could target people that visited your page but didn't like the page? Then you could have a retargeting ad that goes out to those people that says, hey, I noticed that you went to our page but didn't like it. Now's your chance, and you have another video there. So they're just incredibly great opportunities for us to capture more of an audience. And we've been talking about this a lot in our private mastermind group, is that there's more noise on the internet than there ever has been before, right? So I've got a client right now, and she's struggling because she's not even a client. She's a client years ago, and she's saying, hey, I want to come back and be a part of it. And it's like, but look, you got to understand, like, it's not 5 years ago, right? 5 years ago, you had a great opportunity to jump on board. Now the marketplace has changed. You're not going to be the first person doing video. Now everyone's doing video, so our videos are going to have to be more creative, more powerful, and therefore more expensive for you if you're going to want to jump on board. You have got to be doing it differently, better, and you have to be taking action on your ideas now. You can't sit there anymore and go, all right, well, these new video profiles are going to roll out, so as soon as I get mine, I'll start thinking about what I'm going to do. You've got to find out the dimensions now. Right, think about the first 3 that you're going to make, and then go make them, so that when it comes out, you immediately upload it. And then you run an ad saying, go check out these new things.
Absolutely. And here's the thing, like, I mean, this is the crazy part. Like, you and I are sitting here talking about these video cover images. They're not out. There's one Facebook page that I know that has this. I know a couple of people that have tried to upload some stuff to some accounts they work with, and it hasn't worked for them. But we're giving you ideas, stuff that, like, we're literally just coming up with ideas. Like, we don't know if this is going to come out or not. We assume it is. But, we just gave you guys, 5, 6 ideas right here. And you can practice with these. I mean, your typical cover photo image size is, What's the size now, actually, offhand? Do you know what remember it is offhand?
Yeah, it's like 850 by 315, something like that.
Yeah, so I mean, so pretty simple. You make a video that's around that size. And if you don't have a tool, I mean, we can recommend some, but make a video like that and be ready to go. Done.
Yeah, and it's going to be harder to film, because that's like a widescreen. It's like movie theater size, and so there's going to be some challenges there. But there's always going to be challenges, and I think that for me, I quit my dentist. Here's a real true story. I quit my dentist because he was just not interested in who I was as a person. My wife was like, "Why do you care about who your dentist is?" And I'm like, babe, it's just part of who I am. Like, I'm an engaging, fun person, and I want to do business with somebody that when I walk in the door, they're like, Norm, you know what I mean? Owen's here, my dentist is just not interested. He doesn't post, he doesn't engage, and I still want to go to a dentist like that, just flat out, and I had to look for a dentist that actually cares and is social. So, that may or may not be our audience listening, but I'm saying this is that there are people out there that we are so conditioned, and this is definitely true for millennials and Generation Y or whatever they're called, that they are going to be used to engaging personalities. They're going to be bred or growing up on this. And if you're thinking, oh, we don't have to do that, then I think what's going to happen is you're going to notice a steady decline in your business, and you're going to notice that it's much harder to get out of it. You're not going to be able to go and advertise in the local mailer to get yourself out of it. I know a lot of these companies, well, I know if we go in the mailer, we can drive, if we Groupon, we'll get a spike in business, and that is not going to be the case in 3 years. People are going to remember you by your personality, by the social activity you engage in. Are you funny? Do you like a comment when somebody compliments you or gives you a review on your Facebook page? Do you go like it and then say thank you so much? It's a pleasure to serve you. By the way, love your curls. Or are you just like another sterile corporate nothing that says, well, we got a review. Don't say anything. We don't want to get sued. That kind of business model is the dinosaur. It's the way of the dinosaur. It's moving into extinction. And these Facebook video profiles are a great way to put your flag in the ground and say, no, we will not let that happen to us. We are going to move along with the culture and not fight against the culture.
Absolutely. And here's the thing. I mean, it's so much easier, by the way, to kind of go with some of the current. I mean, you can deviate a little bit from things, but the more you try to swim completely against something that, you're going the wrong direction, like it's harder. You
won't win.
Yeah.
You won't win. There's this idea. It's like, the telephone. I mean, when the telephone came out, guy, I was a media major. When the telephone came out, I mean, there was all sorts of people that hated it, right? We saw some of this on Downton Abbey, where it's like, well, why wouldn't you just, if you wanted to just talk to somebody, why wouldn't you just write a letter or go on your horse and carriage and just go meet them? There is a lot of that attitude around the phone and, again, the fax machine, right? It was the innovators at the time that actually, wanted to push these technologies forward. And it's the same with social media. They say, well, why would somebody want a video profile image? It's not for the reasons that, that's the wrong question. The question is what are all the things, how can I make this a new way for my customers to experience me when they're not buying from me? And when you take that attitude towards it, you will find the ideas pouring out of your head. And largely, they're going to be connected to your personality. So if you're a dentist and you're a Bible-loving evangelical type of dentist, you're going to find yourself posting scripture verses on your timeline picture, and you're going to find that you're attracting more Christian customers.
Absolutely.
If you're a kind of like a wild and crazy, irreverent type of contractor, you're going to find that bleeding into your video, and you're going to be attracting more of these wild and crazy, irreverent type of customers, and you're going to find that you're enjoying your customers on a whole new level. My customers are people, my clients are people like me that I would hang out with at a bar. And that to me is like a cool place. Like, that wasn't the case. 5 years ago when I started, I was begging people to do business with me. Please buy from me. Please do a website with me. And you find that you hate this person, like really deep down in your core, you hate them. And you still have to build their website. It's not the case with social. Like, you put something out there and you're gonna attract the right type of people back, and you're gonna find that you're having more fun in your business, and you're able to charge more, you're able to get more, and you're able to do more with them.
And here's the here's the other thing about that. I mean, like it's like you made another really great point. I think just a second ago, you talked about how like the times when when people aren't buying from you, you have to do things to engage with them.
Yeah.
And like a lot of people though, they think it's like a lot of people think this, like they feel that, hey, I'm going to set up shop and all these people all of a sudden are going to start buying from me, and it doesn't work that way. Like you set up your shop, great, but guess what? That you're like. That's like 10% of the way there, or probably a little more like 30, 40. But
I get it.
It's not as far down the track, as you think you are. I mean, like just
I've heard it. I've heard it so many times. Yeah, it's like somebody told me a couple years ago. It's like, and once I make this video, people are gonna flock to me. They're just gonna come from all over the place. I'm like, great, $5,000, we'll make it.
Mm-hmm.
Crickets.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, this idea that people are going to flock to your company, but you're not willing to invest your money in that is just kind of a silly thing. It's like you don't even believe that that's the case. No one is going to flock to your business. No one, not even your family. Just ask any realtor if their family flocks to them when it comes time to need a realtor. No, they're going to shop. They're going to shop and stop just the same as anybody else does. And you've got to give them reason to do business with you. And my reason, the reason that is like we make it fun. Like we make the art of marketing a fun experience, it's a gamified experience. So we're not just generating leads and building websites, but we're timing each other. And we're comparing notes with each other, and we're seeing who can do it the fastest and who can get the most leads this week.
Right.
And that's an environment that I think is kind of like, you're not in the place where you're like, oh, I've got my monthly conference call. You're thinking, oh, let's see what Scott did this week. I can't wait to see what Jesse did this week. I can't wait to see where Elizabeth is this week. And that, I think, makes for a more fun environment where you're more productive.
Absolutely. Great. Absolutely. Those are great points. I mean, and by the way, if you have any questions, everybody that's viewing, I mean, feel free to, if you're watching it live, if you're watching the replay, leave your questions in the comments. We'll work on getting those answered. I do want to actually, and speaking of comments, I'm going to pop up something real quick for everybody, and then we're going to keep going here, Owen, okay?
Yeah.
So what I do want to mention, by the way, speaking of questions and whatnot, one thing that Nick and I actually decided we wanted to start was a way to answer your questions. And so we have a feature. If you go to socialchefs.com/social-snacks, it's a page for you to record a question for us.
That's cool.
If it's a business by the way, try to keep it to business, blogging, social media, any of that kind of stuff. Record it. We'll pick one. And then, each week we're going to try to have the guest that we have on answer that question, or we may turn into a podcast or a blog post. We've got a lot of really good ideas with that. So
that's a great idea.
Check that out. So I'm going to keep going, by the way, with the topics that we've got. I'm going to briefly touch on just the Facebook, additional Facebook one and additional Twitter one, but really we'll just talk about LinkedIn, and we'll kind of probably wrap the show up. How does that sound?
Yeah, it sounds great.
Okay, so the next topic actually that we, there's not a whole lot to this. Pretty much Facebook is going to be testing a new feature. That new feature is the ability to show related articles to people when they're on Facebook. Now, here's the difference, I guess, between this. So the way this previously worked was if you went to Facebook and you clicked on something, they would show you related articles after you clicked on something. Now, the way this new feature is supposed to work, Facebook wants you to see related articles while you're seeing something else in your news feed before you actually then go click off to something. Again, they're testing it. It's all about helping improve your news feed. But what do you think about this? Do you think that, what's your preference, I guess? Do you think you should see related articles before or after?
It's interesting. For me, I think it's going to be a good feature because, during the election, there was a whole bunch of articles going around that I really hated. And it was like, some headline that got me to click, and then it was like a Raspberry Pi recipe, right? And I thought that was just such a waste of time and energy, and I don't like that. Now, I would love it if there was like 5 other articles right there to save me. I know it sounds ridiculous, but let's face it. I don't want to have to click back and back and back, right? To get back to where I was. So having those related articles is a pretty good idea. Now, the same thing sort of happens, where you're kind of, going through your Facebook feed and you're noticing these articles, you click on it, and within, I'm a scroller. I kind of like scroll through an article first before I really commit to it. And if there's a couple headers that really get me, if I see that it's really wordy, then it's rare that I'm going to stop on that article. So I like the idea of like, hey, is this not right for you? Then here's these 5 other things. Here's these 3 other things that we thought you might enjoy based on, your search. It's kind of like related videos in YouTube. Those related videos are on the side the whole time. So if you ever get bored with this video, they give you lots of reasons not to click off. So I think overall, I'm going to like this feature. And I like that they're sort of flipping it on its head. I'm a big believer in flipping things on its head, and just turning it upside down and see what happens, So this idea of let's show you a related article before you even, get into the article. Believe it or not, I think it's consistent with. So this idea of let's show you a related before you even, I think it's consistent with my searching habits and people like me, so I think it'll be a good thing.
Right. Absolutely, it's funny you mentioned this because I knew the direction you were going to go with this, and I'm going to talk about Facebook Instant Articles real quick. So, Facebook Instant Articles came out well over a year ago, and they really didn't pick up much traction, much steam with people. And part of the reason why was because people wanted others to go to their website. They wanted, they thought, hey, I got to get people back to my website. But here's the thing: doesn't matter if somebody's reading it on your website, or if they're reading it on Facebook's Instant Articles feature, which optimizes it for viewing on mobile. Doesn't matter where they're viewing it at. Like, it still comes down to, is the content good content? Is it engaging content? Do I personally have, all of the aspects where I can capture a lead or, have some advertising or something in those, in that article? Like, if I have that stuff there, like, that's going to keep people, it's going to be sticky. It's going to keep people reading the content. It's the same thing with this whole related articles thing. If I go to, for instance, in the newsfeed and I see someone's article and then underneath it I see 4 other articles that look better than the other one, they got a better headline, but they're very similar, I may click off to that article. But I might do it because it's going back to what you talked about earlier. It's all about upping your game. Yeah. Like if somebody's doing something better than you, it breeds competition. It's healthy competition.
Yeah, I'm a big believer in that too. As much as I hate it, I really do, because I see, people like Justin Brown. I see people like Nick Nimmin who are creating content similar to the content that I'm creating, and they're doing a great job. Right. They're doing a great job, and I'm thinking, man, a year ago I was way in the lead on this sort of thing. Maybe from a Facebook standpoint, and right. But I got to say this, not only, first of all, these guys are good friends, first of all. Yeah. And we're definitely in the community together. But I bring them up to give them a little daylight because, they don't need promote, but I want to give them a shout out. But the idea is that having them in my rear view mirror motivates me to come up with better stuff. Now look at the background behind you. Or behind me. Yeah. I had whiteboards and some other things up that I thought added kind of like a cool look to my room. Well, after seeing their backgrounds and how organized they were and how clean, I just got rid of them and just went straight blue. We're going to put some shelving back here. We're going to do some cool things here. My point is that it was through that competition that I've developed this look that I think works better now. So it's the same with articles. If there's going to be related articles showing up, that means new analytics that show you, hey, you're showing up on HuffPost articles, or you're showing up on Ben Shapiro's articles, or you're showing up on whoever is in the middle type of articles. Right. Then that tells you who you can be targeting. It's going to give you an idea of what type of headlines you should be writing, and it's going to help you improve your content. There are definitely going to be people that go, I hate this. This is stupid. Phones are dumb. Fax machines are dumb. And those people are going to lose. They lose every time. History shows us that they lose every time. And it's not because their content's bad. It's because their attitude's bad. Absolutely. You've got to look at that as an opportunity to grow and use that to grow. Don't just sit there and go, ho hum, those guys are growing faster. You've got to say, okay, great. There's some new soil here. There's some people kind of competing for my space here. What can I do to up my game? For me, it was change my background, you know, and it's still, it opened up a whole lot of new ideas today, or in production. So the marketplace of ideas is where knives are sharpened, right? Iron sharpens iron unless you retreat. And so when you see these things happening, you got to ask yourself, how can I compete in this space? And don't get overwhelmed. I mean, we're talking about articles here, guys. Like, I'm not an article writer, so I'm not going to have to. I love Facebook instant articles, and I was surprised that didn't take off more than it did. But even I say that, but I didn't put the code in my website. You know, I didn't go into it because I'm a video guy. I'm focusing more on video. So, you know, the instant articles, you're like, oh, instant articles and Instagram and Facebook video cover
more
images.
Stuff I have to do.
Yeah, but again, I think we're doing this show so that you guys will pick, like, which of these things. I mean, you chose some great topics today. They're so diverse, you know. It's like, so which of these things most resonates with you? Pick that thing. Well, hey, I really like the idea of the video cover images. Great. Well, then focus on what your 3 ideas are going to be and start producing those. Absolutely. Well, hey, Owen, I'm not a video guy, so the article thing really works for me. Well, great. Focus on that and don't even worry about the Facebook video stuff, you know?
Absolutely.
Pick the one thing that you can move on now and control the overwhelm.
Definitely. And, you know, and speaking of, I mean, you know, you talked about, like, you change your background, for instance. Like, when I got started with live video, it used to be pretty straightforward. I would use Blab. I'd go on there, and it'd be like, hey, here's what my background looks like. Like, granted, my background doesn't look that great right now, but hey, what did I do to change it? I switched software. That's how I have these, you know, these screens. I've got these videos. Like, I did that to up my game. You know, because I wanted my video to stand out and look different than everyone else's.
That's such a great point. You know, and we're same thing. We were using OBS, and we just couldn't do it. We couldn't do what we wanted to do on it as much as we liked it and liked the flexibility of it. So we moved over to Blue Jeans, and we started streaming there, and that's got some fine qualities. We're now looking at Wirecast Pro to do some of the things that we want to do. So, you know, it may not be changing your background. Again, flip it on its head. If everyone's writing, you know, you're trying to write a better article, well, you know, and you're competing with professional journalists, right? Hey, here's an idea. Why don't you try to make better blog images, right? And just flip it on its head. Maybe instead of writing a better article, you could just write a better opening paragraph or write a better subject line. You know, flip it on its head. What have you not thought about? And go with that thing for a little bit and see where it gets you.
Absolutely. So you want to wrap it up with one more topic, I guess, and then we can talk about 2 tools real quick?
Yeah, sure. Okay.
So we're going to talk about the last topic. The last one is actually going to be this whole it's actually on LinkedIn matched audiences. And I don't know, are you a big Facebook ads person or not really? Or
oh yeah, big time. Okay. Yeah, big time. I'm not a big LinkedIn person. You know, I like LinkedIn. It's a great place to be. To me, it's a conference room. It's a stuffy shirt and tie place. And I notice for me, I get real claustrophobic on LinkedIn. But it's that's not to knock the site itself. I know it's real in to knock LinkedIn. But there's a lot of value there. I just think for me, I can be brash at times, and it's not always the most business professional. So I love the idea of being able to cross promote, find similar audiences on both platforms because their mindset is different, right? Someone on LinkedIn has like changed their mind. They're no longer escaping to play a little bit on Facebook, right. But they're actually in business mode there for networking. So you can run a different type of ad to the same person and get a much better result.
Yeah, and really the one I want to mention what this is, and then just kind of give people an idea of how this kind of compares to Facebook. So what LinkedIn is doing is they've rolled out a feature called matched audiences. And what these are basically are, in LinkedIn's terms, a set of targeting capabilities that gives you the unique ability to combine LinkedIn's powerful professional data with your own first-party data. And matched audiences help you engage key accounts, prospects, and audiences that matter most to your business with 3 new capabilities: website retargeting, account targeting, and contact targeting. Now, here's the thing. I've worked for B2B, B2C, small to medium businesses, very large Fortune 500 companies. And what separates LinkedIn here from, I think, Facebook is, if you work for any large company, they always said this, well, hey, we want to go advertise to people. And they would put all this money behind LinkedIn versus Facebook. And the reason why was because their customers were not on Facebook. You know, if you want to reach like the CTO, for instance, of a company, they're not on Facebook. Chances are they are not on Facebook. You know, they're going to more so be on LinkedIn if they're on any of those. But, you know, if they're not on any of those places, who's the next logical person? You're going to be reaching like the developer, for instance, the person who's going to go back to that CTO and say, hey.
The people in their ear.
Exactly. And you know, you kind of have to think, okay, well, where do I want to go? Well, if you were advertising on Facebook and you're like, hey, I want to advertise for people that work at this company, you're not going to get that person because most people are not going to put on their Facebook profile that they work for a company. On LinkedIn, they put all that stuff. So this is where this new LinkedIn matched audience feature is going to be really useful. You're going to be able to do, you know, retargeting. So you can create target audiences from your website visitors for LinkedIn. Fantastic. You're going to be able to do account targeting. So you're going to be able to market to the word that Owen mentioned earlier, marketing to influencers and decision makers at your target accounts. And then you're also going to be able to do this feature called contact targeting, which is actually really cool, where you basically are uploading your email list directly to Marketo, Oracle, Eloqua, LiveRant platforms to import a list of contacts. Now, where this is going to be valuable is, we mentioned, okay, we got people we want to reach the CTO. They're not on Facebook. We're not going to necessarily advertise there to try to reach them. We want to reach them on LinkedIn. Well, guess what? What kind of email address do people use on LinkedIn? Or what kind of data did they put? They put their personal data. Because I got personal contacts on LinkedIn, but I've got business contacts. I've got email addresses. I signed up with my email address maybe. So at that point, LinkedIn is going to become a viable option with this matched audience feature if you are in the B2B space and you are trying to reach people that are, you know, working for very large companies. That's who you want to get in front of.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that you've got some strong points there, you know, and I'll take it into I'm going to split off of that, you know, and I think it's a very powerful tool for you know, for the multi-touch point theory, right? And hitting your audience on multiple touch points. So here's what I mean by that. I believe that the CTO is on Facebook. I mean, there's 8.17 trillion people on Facebook, right? So everybody you know is on Facebook for the most part, except for, you know, that we've all got those friends that have this moral thing against it or whatever, and that's fine. But for the most part, you're not a sellout person anyway. I believe the CTO is on Facebook, but he's not on Facebook to do business. He's on Facebook to look at grandkids. He's there to look at ESPN, and he's looking at these other things. So the idea is that you can hit him on Facebook with an ad just for awareness. You're not even trying to get in front of him. But then on LinkedIn, you can now re-engage that same person when he's ready to engage you. So, you know, a case in point, or maybe like an example of this was, I was at Digital Marketing Conference, the Digital Marketer Conference, Traffic and Conversion in February, and they talk a lot about, Ezra Firestone was talking about how buyers are, they're like perusing and learning on mobile, but they're buying on desktop. So they'll start the buying process on mobile, but they'll save or abandon and then come back and finish on a desktop. So it's the same idea. It's just kind of like you're going to like hit them on Facebook and so that you can be there, right? Because most people are not, they're going to say, oh, the CTO is not on Facebook. So that, to me, it tells you that you should be trying to hit the CTO on Facebook, okay? Then you're going to seal the deal on LinkedIn with these new matched audiences. So, you know, think about how these things can work together, because it's rarely going to be like a one-stop shop. You know, we hit our people on our website. We want to drive traffic there, and then we hit them on Facebook with an ad that's targeted to whatever thing that they were doing on on our website. Right. And that, you know, that is not only cheaper, but it's increasing our engagements as well, or increasing our conversions as well.
Absolutely. So yeah, so that's basically you know, the other news, I guess, this week from LinkedIn. I love that strategy, you know, about being able to, you know, say, hey, let's target them here, and we'll come back here and hit them here as well. Again, it's not a one-stop shop. It's not one of those things where you're gonna, you know, target them once and all of a sudden they're gonna be buying from you. You know, I was reading something recently, and they were talking about how I think it's like 7 touch points or whatever before somebody is ready to buy something. Yeah. So
I'd love to see that article, because we talk about 15 touch points, you know, and I think because some of those touch points can be so superficial, you know, it's just an ad, just just a 3-second scroll across your video that you might need more of them, but there's really no way to know. People ask me all the time because we focus big time on how to use video to make sales, right? It's not like we're not trying to make YouTube celebrities, and we're not trying to make live streaming stars. What we're trying to do is how can you as your company implement a process, a program that uses video to make sales. And what we focus on is using that to those touch points to your biggest advantage. They ask me how many touch points, and I go, maybe 25, maybe it's 15, and you're telling me 7. I love the idea of 7. Either way, you've got to have a yellow brick road set up that they can walk down. That they can engage with you. And when you set those things up and you set them up over time, it won't be overnight. You're going to find that you're getting again the clients that you want to be getting.
Right. That's the key thing right there. I mean, you can go get people. They're gonna kick your tires. They're gonna read your articles. They're gonna engage with you, but they're not gonna be your customers.
Right.
And you need to put.
I get emails all the time. It's like, hey, can you help me with my channel? Yeah, it's $97 to get started, and then it's like all of a sudden they forgot where the reply all button is. And that's such a low barrier to entry. But imagine if you're socially selling and you've got a software service, like you cannot go in the old way. You cannot go in the old way, even though that's what your boss is telling you to do. That's what his bosses are telling him to do. They don't know any better, and their pensions are already set up. Yours is not.
Right.
So I got fired from a radio station. It was the last job I ever had, kind of. I had another intermediary job like years later, but that was 6 weeks till they fired me. I was at this corporate. I was using video. I had an animated GIF in my email signature, so that kind of promoted my services. I was using video PowerPoints. They were called PowerPoint shows at the time, but it was video to sell my stuff. And the higher ups told me to stop. They said stop selling this way and do it our way, and that was door to door. They wanted me out of the office knocking on doors. Well, I wouldn't do it. I told them I didn't need to do it because I was already #1 in sales, and they fired me. They fired me as the #1 salesman of airtime and the #1 salesman on internet time, because breaking their rules and breaking their worldview was completely unacceptable. They were willing to take the money that I brought into the company, but they weren't willing to go through that. I want to challenge some of you guys watching this. Like you have got to challenge the culture at your company and recognize that the skills that you'll develop in doing this, you'll be able to take with you everywhere. Now, that was 10 years ago, just about, okay? So nowadays, bosses are looking for that person that's willing to buck the system. They're not going to do it because their pension is set, right? They're good. They're not going to buck the system. But if they see you doing it, that's going to open up potentially some big doors for promotion, commissions, leadership that you never thought possible. And all it takes, really, dude, is making like a freaking Facebook video banner. Absolutely, man.
I gotta say, I'm excited about that video banner. I can't wait for those to get announced. I think people are going to go nuts for it. I think people are probably thinking, oh, it's MySpace, all over again. But I think if you do them right, you don't have to worry about that. Like, you're going to have
MySpace was popular and cool and everyone loved it. Like, why are we talking smack on it? I wish they shut down my MySpace account. I used to send people back to it. I had animated GIFs all over my MySpace. I had what was called the O Show. And get this, man, it was an animated GIF show on MySpace. And it was basically like, it was me with like a picture of me. I would cut the top of my head off at the mouth, and then I would animate it to...
Like South Park?
Exactly like South Park, like the Canadians on South Park, okay? So it was the exact same thing, and I put text on the screen, and it was funny, and I could change it quickly, and it was cool. All of a sudden, we moved to Facebook. Everyone's like, oh, I hate this now, Hey, look, if Facebook it over videos and it blows up, hey, it gives somebody else a chance. Maybe then that Snapchat will have an idea to innovate without having all their ideas ripped off. So
absolutely,
it's okay. It's okay. Let's just go with it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and that's a good point. I mean, just the fact that it does potentially open the door. If people are not interested in like animated GIFs, for instance, which I don't think that's the case because everybody's tweeting animated GIFs all the time. in response to things. But I think that, it's going to be, again, going back to what you said earlier, I mean, you kind of have to go with the flow on things. You have to kind of start now on what you're creating. And, you can't just like say, okay, hey, I'm going to get to this like next week. Like, you do need to start having like almost like 2 tracks running. One is like, hey, this is the stuff that I kind of want to like, marinate on a little bit, test a little bit. But then I need to have, if I want to move things forward, I need to have a very solid strategy based on what I'm going to be doing, and I need to stick to that strategy. It's like, hey, I do this live video every week, Nick and I, and there's a process for it. And I try not to deviate from the process, not because I don't want to like blow up and mess up, but it's a process. It takes a lot of work.
And so the same is true with, and I'm sure you'll agree, is with posting on Facebook. Like, what are you posting on Facebook? Like, do you have a strategy for it? And you stick to that strategy. It's like, hey, on Monday, we're going to post content around new sales. On Wednesday, we're going to post content around existing customers. And on Friday, we're going to post employee-based stuff. Like, it's not hard. We make it hard.
Right. Absolutely. So I'm going to jump into some tools, by the way. I got 2 tools for everybody tonight. And Owen, this has been a fabulous discussion, by the way. So we'll keep you on here for a few more minutes.
Hurry, we got to hurry. I got little kids crawling at my door here, ready for Dad to read them a bedtime story.
Okay, so tool number 1 for tonight, and I don't know how much of a Twitter user you are.
Don't say my name.
So tool number 1, Stormcrow. And I got to say, this is what I like about this tool. Anybody who has written a tweet and your tweet is way too long, and you have to go back and you have to break up the length of the tweet.
That's me.
You got to put, parentheses, 1 of, I guess it's going to be 4, and then I got to like write more stuff if it's not. What this does is you basically write out all your stuff that you want to tweet out. It will break them up for you, and it will put the parentheses and everything else there for you. To me, for $3, it's a convenient app. Unbelievable. I mean, for $3, that's awesome. That's way, way, way worth it for me.
I'll tell you, the character limit on Twitter has sort of, I've got a nice little Twitter following, and I want to encourage you guys to follow me on Twitter because we've been engaging on there more. It's like a 1-to-1 place for me now. It's like where I'm engaging with individuals, but I often run into that I'm typing too much, and brevity is not necessarily my strong suit. So that sounds like a great tool. And you know what? I love the prices of these tools these days. It's $3 and they're $1 billion company, or whatever. I'm just kind of throwing numbers out. But the idea is that they can be profitable at $3 by adding that kind of value to my experience. I think that's great.
And you also, and here's the other thing, like people look at I hear a lot of people say, hey, I don't buy apps, and here's the thing. I look at the app, and if it's something that I know can save me time, I'm going to save $3 like that easily.
Yeah.
And even if it's even if it's as simple as like typing out your tweets and then, hey, just copying what's there, like your device has, it's got a great share function to it. So all you got to do is, type it out, copy your text. Hey, it's all copied out. It's got all the parentheses in it. Paste. Done.
Yeah, you're going to spend more money than that on M&Ms, at the grocery store counter. And when you amortize that over the year, I'm big into, like, I won't buy an app that's more than $10 without, I won't impulse buy. Like, I had to put a kind of a control on that. So $10 or more, I have to really burn out the free version. I did not buy Photofy, right? It just wasn't, it's not good enough for me. But I did buy Videorama, right? And that's just like a killer app for me right now. So, having sort of a standard in place for how you buy apps and buying them like on like 99 cents, I allow myself the what do you call it? Like a impulse purchase. You know what I mean? But anything more than that, it's going to be, you got to put some thought into it. And if you're using Twitter a lot and you're running into this issue, think about all the time you're saving. Yeah. Now, and by the way, so if you're somebody who's using Twitter and you're casually using it, like, no, you don't necessarily need this app. But, if you're on there a lot, for instance, and, you're tweeting a lot from that, I think that would be really handy to have. If you're participating in Twitter chats, absolutely worth it. Yeah. Because, you can sit there and type out like as many answers as you want, and it splits them all and you're done. I love that. So, that's great. That's really how I use Twitter, is as Twitter chats. And Twitter chats, I mean, they're fantastic. I mean, I've been participating in them a bunch over the last couple months. I mean, if you really want to get and drive engagement on Twitter, participate in Twitter chats. It's not just about let me tweet some articles. You got to do more than just, you got to do more
engage
than that. With people. Yeah, engage with people.
And it's what, 1 hour, 30 minutes, 1 hour of your time a week. I mean, you don't have to participate the whole time. I mean, so second tool, by the way, and then we're going to wrap things up, is Ecamm Live. Now, this is a no-brainer. I mean, here's the thing. I use Wirecast for this. You and I were talking about Wirecast earlier. Wirecast is expensive. It can be what, $800 up to like significantly more than that, depending on what you're buying. If you want to run Facebook Lives, you can run Facebook Lives directly from Facebook, from your mobile device, no problem. You can do that stuff for free. But what is really great, I think, about Ecamm Live, and by the way, it's $30, is that you can broadcast to Facebook profiles, pages, groups, but what it has with it is it's drop dead simple to use, and it has screen sharing and video sharing. You just drag, for instance, if you want to put a video up, you start the program, you drag your video file, and poof, it's up there. There's no, well, how do I do this? How do I do that? It's that simple. You put text up there, I want to drag it off, it removes it. It's super, super, super easy and well worth it.
Yeah, I'm going to give a big shout out to George B. Thomas over at the Sales Lion for showing me Ecamm. As soon as I saw it, I dug into it big time. And here's everything you said is great, but I'll up the ante. You can pull in PNGs, right? You can pull in JPEGs. You can have lower thirds. You can click them on and off. You can click on text, which means that you could add arrows. You could add arrows here and there, and you could add images. You could do so many fun things. With this show. Okay, so the first show I ever did was back. See, I was using a Pinnacle editing software. YouTube wasn't even a thing. I mean, it was there, but I wasn't even uploading to it. I think I was uploading to MySpace at the time, but I'm trying to remember. And there was, I was using like all of these tools to create a news-like show with Ecamm. So imagine this: you make 5 PowerPoint slides, and you schedule a rant. You can go live on Facebook with your rant, and with a click of the button, because you can upload all 5 images right now. And then when you go live, just click show this image. Now click it off. Show that image and click it off.
Right.
Show this, and you could actually do your rant with the images appearing above you, which makes it look exactly like a news show.
Absolutely.
Ecamm, I think, is a game changer, and I think it's only – I don't use that term a lot. I think it is a game changer, and I think it's going to they already integrate with Skype, so I think that the ability to pull a second person in is just right down the way.
Yes.
So I would say, if nothing else, watch that company, find out where they're going, and stay in touch, because that's going to make live streaming accessible to everyone.
Absolutely, and it's a fantastic tool. I mean, for $30, it's absolute no-brainer for any business.
Yeah, for any business. Yeah, absolutely.
Even
Get it to just play with it.
Exactly. And here's the thing, for instance, I already have, I'm doing Wirecast here, but like, why would I buy another tool? So here's why I bought another tool, because for Wirecast, I'm running this show. I'm able to have, multiple people in there. Normally we do this show with 3 people. I can have 4 people on. I can easily share screens. I can go live on the web. I can push up my lower thirds. I can have these great graphics, all of that sort of stuff. Like, it's, production. But then if I want to just say, hey, you know what? I'm going to do a blog post. I'm going to do a Facebook Live about this blog post. I'm going to use Ecamm Live. You know why? Because I don't have to have anyone else on. So
it's like a one-click live too.
Yeah.
It's the first time I went live, I didn't even know it. And I was grateful for that, because you want to know when you're going live. But that's how easy it was to go live. It was literally like you open it up and go live. You need to have that kind of capability, because if you're going to be a newsbreaker in your industry, and we are, like, when something big comes out, we want to be the first to talk about it. You need to not go through 10 different steps to go live. You need to just be able to click and go live, and that's what Ecamm is. I think it's a great tool, and definitely something a company to be watching for.
For sure. So I'm going to say, Owen, absolute blast having you on tonight. I know you got a lot of stuff to get, still.
It's dinner time for us. I know. You're over there chilling. You're on the East Coast, right?
Yeah, I'm on the East Coast, yeah.
Yeah. So it's great being on the show. Great. I love that we're just talking about news topics. Really a fun idea.
So, by the way, where can people find you, by the way, if they want to get in touch with you?
Yeah, guys, go to thevideospot.net and just visit the blog. You'll see our podcast on iTunes. You'll see my YouTube show. and you'll see our Facebook Live. We're live every Wednesday on Facebook, new podcast on Fridays, new video every Tuesday. So on YouTube. So thevideospot.net is how you connect with us. And I urge you guys to go there, opt into everything, and then buy all the upsells.
Very cool, man. So it's been a blast having you on the show.
Good to be here. Thank you for having me.
Oh, you're very welcome. So just going to wrap things up, everyone. So join us next week. Hopefully, I think Nick will be back next week. He had a bit of an emergency that came up right before the show, but he'll be back on next week at 9 p.m. The show will be again on facebook.com/socialchefs. And then just a couple other things for those of you who are watching and you're like, hey, you know what? I want to subscribe to your newsletter, for instance, that we run. We publish a daily newsletter. Simply head to socialchefs.com/subscribe. That's going to get you on our list. And basically, we'll give you a link to the blog recap that's going to get published tomorrow. You'll also know some of the topics, and also we'll tell you who the guest is going to be. And then lastly, don't forget to connect with us over on all of our social channels. And we're Social Chefs on all of them. So it's facebook.com/socialchefs, twitter.com/socialchefs, youtube.com/socialchefs, Instagram. Let's see, we're also on Snapchat. But Owen, absolute blast having you on. Thanks a lot. And we'll be sure to get a recap out for everybody. So thanks a lot for joining us.